Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about the brand new Moondrop JIU.
Yes, quite a strange name, and in English it sounds kind of odd.
And what this is a pair of IEMs that's not really like any pair that we've tested in the past, because one, it doesn't use a normal 3.5mm headphone plug-in. It actually has a USB-C plug-in, and another huge plus is it has its own built-in DSP or digital signal processor, so it's not relying on an amp like most IEMs. And another thing that's interesting is the price, because these only come in at $25. So I think this is like the most affordable way to get into higher end sound without having to just break the bank and without having to need extra equipment, and it makes these very portable. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about what all comes inside the box. We're going to talk about the sound and see why I think this is pretty much a no-brainer coming in at $25. So to start with, let's just talk about Moondrop. Moondrop as a company, in my opinion, is very well known for their IEMs. They usually give you a lot for your money, and they have some that are just priced all over the place. They have them at entry levels like this, where it's 25 bucks, and then they have them where they go up to just several $100s. I don't even know if they actually cross over the $1,000 mark like some other companies, but the point is they're really good at making IEMs, and they have a lot of options, and this is just a different option. In fact, they actually had the Moondrop JIU, which obviously sounds like the Moondrop JIU, and it's another one that had this same USB-C plug-in. I have not tested those, so I really don't know the difference between these and that pair, but I couldn't pass up on the chance to try these, mainly because a lot of the devices that I have use that USB-C connection. I mean, it's in laptops, it's in the Steam Deck, it's in my phone. There's just so many different things that uses USB-C, and then the only downfall here is if you're using an iPhone, obviously there's no USB-C connection. There is on the iPads, there is on the MacBooks, but Apple has not switched over their iPhones to using USB-C, so that in itself is going to be a negative for a lot of people. Now, the IEMs themselves, they are actually very small, and they're not like your normal IEMs where they already have that ear hook where you have to have them going over your ears to be able to put them in your ears. Now, luckily, inside the box, they do include some ear hook adapters, or ones that you can put on the actual wire to have them as ear hooks. They also have this little, it looks like a little envelope pouch for the IEMs. Again, this makes these very portable, but it really just kind of keeps them where you can put them in your pocket and not have your keys scratch up the IEMs themselves. Now, also in the box, it comes with 3 different sets of silicone ear tips. These are very comfortable. Again, you don't have to use the ear hook. I found that the ear tips and the way that these sat in my ear, I had no issue with them moving around, but I do think if you're going to go to the gym, if you're going to run or things like that, you would want to use these ear hooks so the IEMs are not moving around. Now, as far as the material of the IEMs and the cable and everything itself, the IEM is made out of a zinc alloy housing. It actually feels pretty premium. The cable on these are not removable, so that's one thing I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, mainly because if something happens to the cable, it's pretty much, you're going to have to throw these out. But I guess at $25, that's much better than spending hundreds of dollars and not having a removable cable on those. Now, also in the cable, it does have your volume control. There's also a mic located on here, so you can use this for taking phone calls. And I'll give you a quick little sample here. So here's the mic test using the Moondrop JIUs, and like I said, you can tell it sounds really clear. I'm putting it close to my mouth so you can see how well it picks up. But just hanging right down here, I mean, the sensitivity on it is very good. I could easily see using this for phone calls with no problem. So as you can see, the sound quality on the mic is actually very impressive. Now, on the far end of the cable where you plug it into the device is the USB-C connection, but this is also where the DSP is housed. Again, it's kind of like what's amplifying your audio, and it's also what's keeping you from having to buy a separate amp. I mean, even those little Dragonfly amps that you would plug into your phone, that's not needed with these. You just plug them straight in, you're going to get plenty of volume, and you're going to get plenty of power. which we can actually go ahead and talk about the sound. Now, the frequency response on these is 10 hertz all the way to 35,000 hertz. And really, to sum up the sound on these are pretty close to being a reference style IEM. I don't think that they went in with the approach to having that U-shaped consumer curve. There is a lot more focus on the mids and the treble. There's a lot of focus on the vocals with these. And I also feel like the treble has a nice bright feel to them. So you can tell that it's leaning a little bit more to that side of the sound spectrum. But I'm not saying that these don't have bass. Just the bass on these, it's very fast. It is a quick punch. It's not overpowering. So if you're looking for that subwoofer type bass, I don't feel like these check that box. But I was still able to feel the hits of the drums. Again, it kind of feels like the bass was pulled back down to almost reference style. It's not flat. It's not dull. It still has plenty of life to it. But again, I really feel like the focus on these was more in the details. And having that fast bass actually makes it really enjoyable listening to genres like metal or anything that's chaotic where there's a lot of stuff going on, because this pair has no issue keeping up with all of that. And when it comes to the sound stage and the sound imaging, this was another area where it was also very impressive. I mean, it sounded really open, really wide, and I had no issue with being able to tell where different sounds were coming from. And when it comes to grading these for different genres, if you're listening to these mainly for pop and hip hop, I would give these a 7 in this category. And that's mainly because you're going to feel like they're lacking in low end because they don't have that subwoofer type bass. It is not sloppy. It is very quick, very fast. So when it comes to genres like rock and metal, this is where I would give these a 9. I mean, it's able to keep up easily. And I didn't give it a 10 just because not having that really overpowering type of impact means it kind of takes away from like the live presence of drums. You're not feeling the drums, but you are hearing more of the drums than you do with other pair of like earbuds and IEMs. Now, when it comes to genres like easy listening or country or anything that's a little bit more vocal driven, this is where these get a 10. I mean, it keeps up with that perfectly, and I can't say enough at how good these are when it comes to vocalists. I mean, male and female vocalists, there's just so much detail, and it's really fun to listen to. And then when it comes to using these for different types of media, I would also give these a 9. Obviously, you don't have to worry about lag because this just plugs straight in. There's no kind of connection issues when it comes to Bluetooth. You're not having to rely on anything like that. And again, the only reason I wouldn't give them a 10 is not having that overpowering type bass means if you're watching, something with explosions or using these for gaming, you're not going to feel those explosions as much as you would with some other devices. So my overall rating on these is going to be an 8. And honestly, from a value standpoint, this is a 10. One, because you're getting a pair that you do not have to worry about battery life. You just plug them straight in, and whatever device you're using is what's going to be powering these. It's what's going to be powering that DSP, and you're not having to rely on having to make sure that they're charged, which means it makes these convenient. It's very portable. It's nice that you can throw them into this little pouch and everything you need is just right there. And in my opinion, when it comes to the sound, I think they sound excellent. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on your listening preference. If you are a bass head, I am going to say that you're going to feel like these are lacking when it comes to the low end. I personally don't feel like it's lacking. It's just a lot more refined and a lot more cleaned up. And it's not what you usually hear in most affordable type of IEMs or earbuds. I mean, most consumer style earbuds and IEMs have that bloated bass, and I think that's what a lot of people get accustomed to. So when you get a pair like this where it's pretty cleaned up, I mean, it's kind of refreshing to listen to these. And the fact that they're $25, I really just feel like this could fit in pretty much anybody's collection. I mean, you can be an audiophile that doesn't want to use their expensive IEMs when they're going to the gym. You can be somebody that, just is a normal consumer, but you need a pair of wired IEMs. So, if you pick up your earbuds and they're dead, you can grab these and you're just good to go. And again, the versatility. I mean, being able to use these on so many different devices, I think it's just an easy one to recommend. It's one that I think a lot of people should pick up. And Moondrop definitely knows how to tune their IEMs. I mean, the sound on these for the price is kind of crazy. But guys, that wraps up my video on the Moondrop JIU. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.